We now cross live to Maseru in Lesotho, where our very own SABC News Contributing Editor Vuyo Mvoko is standing by with the latest details. Vuyo, very good morning, and can you give us the latest results we believe are still trickling in around the country?
Hi Elvis, welcome to Maseru, Lesotho. Yes indeed, I'm standing right in front of the entrance to the National Results Center. Not much this morning, I must say. They are almost just with over 47 constituencies have been finished officially. The results are in, and of those 35 go to or have gone to the All Basotho Convention, and 10 have gone to DC, and only 2 have gone to LCD. So things looking a bit lopsided at the moment, but do remember that parties themselves are doing their own tallying. And from those, what we're picking up from the various political parties is that it looks like Lesotho is set for another coalition arrangement. As to which side, of course, will form, will in the end be able to form a coalition. It's going to depend a lot on the negotiations, the willingness of the parties to work together and so on. But as things stand, it looks like the nationalists on the one hand are digging in their heels, whereas the Social Democrats on the other thinks that like-minded parties will go together. No indication as yet as to whether in fact there could be a fusion of all the schools of thought and the ideologies to form one, shall we call it, for lack of a better word, national unity government. So nothing is clear at this stage. I guess everyone is waiting for the numbers, the final numbers to trickle in, which we are told will happen perhaps in another couple of days. Certainly not today. Elvis?
Now, you mentioned the vote count at about 47% right now, but how soon can we then expect the results, all the results, to be tallied and reconciled?
Well, that's they are still busy with the results. They are a bit slow to trickle in. Part of the reason, or the main reason, being most things are being done manually. So it's not a particularly fast and efficient process, but they do keep trickling in. The 47 I was talking about is the number of constituencies, not the percentage of votes counted. The percentage is well over 50, 57, 58 or thereabout. That's where they are. In other words, they've reached the halfway mark, but they do expect to finish this in another couple of days or so. But do remember, or part of what is kind of complicating things a bit is the whole public PR vote, because there's a completely different formula. Sorry, not a PR, but it's where there you have political parties that may not have won constituencies, for example, but showing a significant or a healthy presence. So that gets taken into account, so that when your proportional representation is then counted, you will find that even though Party A may have won that constituency, but their proportional representation numbers may still be healthy, which would then mean that they tend to get seats, or more and more seats. So that too has to be factored in, and it is going to take a wee bit of time, or has a bearing in the amount of time that they will take to actually get to the very final numbers.
Now, there was some concern in the run-up to the election about potential election violence, but from your observation and from the observer missions, what's their take so far?
Well, I don't know if you can still hear me, Elvis, but if you can.
Let me just repeat. There was some.
But if you can hear me, Elvis, a short while ago there were a couple of briefings. The African Union, the African Union, as well as SADC, they had briefings where they effectively declared the election free and fair, and they believe that Basotho did indeed exercise their right to vote. Of course, conversations have moved now, or are beginning to move to beyond the election itself, what's going to happen next. And one of the key or critical issues that Basotho have to confront is the issue of security, because at the moment you have security systems, you have security forces that do not see eye to eye, you have security systems that Basotho believe are not firmly in the hands of the civilian, of civilians. In other words, there's a lot of control by politicians, but there's also a lot of side taking by the security forces. You find a situation where the police favor one party or a particular candidate, whereas the defense force may favor a different candidate. So we did ask SADC whether it is seized with this matter beyond the election, because remember, before the election, everyone admitted that there were issues that could not be attended to. So we are told now that the issue of security is being looked into. And yesterday, the mediator, Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, did meet with the interim head of the defense. He also met with the interim head of the police. The minister was present. Minister of International Relations, Nkwana Maitema Shabane, was in that meeting where the Deputy President met with the two officers, and this is what the minister had to say about that meeting, which she said she was part of.
Yesterday, I was present when the facilitator, His Excellency Deputy President Ramaphosa of South Africa, met with the head of the general who is now leading the defense force, who recommitted himself to serving the government of the day under whoever that the people of Lesotho would have decided upon through this election process. The same applied to the acting commissioner of police. In a separate meeting, he recommitted himself to whoever that would come and form a government post-elections.
Vuyo, now we know that Basotho went to the polls, but what are you hearing on the ground? What are Basotho saying? Who do they want to win?
Elvis, I think at this stage, Basotho have indeed spoken. They may not have spoken in a way or in the manner that everyone, including themselves, would have preferred, where you would have had an outright winner, a party with an outright majority, able to have, the guts and the courage to do the right things. But in whatever manner they have spoken, they have actually forced these parties to actually look at themselves and see what would be in the interest or in the best interests of Basotho. And leadership issues are going to come to the fore, obviously, because the various parties will have to take a long and hard look at themselves. They will have to consider the interests of their nation. They will have to, of course, take into account how this election went, but also how the people spoke, and decide within and among themselves as to what would be in the best interests of their country. And at this stage, certainly from what we're picking up from what the parties are saying, what Basotho are saying is that these parties need to come together and come up with the best formula that will guarantee better governance, good governance, that will ensure that whoever is in charge have the interests of all Basotho at heart, not just narrow national interests or narrow social democrat interests as the parties here like to sort of separate themselves.
Vuyo, thank you so much for that report. That was our SABC News Contributing Editor, Vuyo Mvoko, coming to us live from Maseru in Lesotho.